Ready? All right. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to live stream Tuesdays with Ari Mentor. So it's been a while, but I'm back. Been out having some fun, enjoying myself, doing some deals. And let's see, I got some announcements before we get started. First announcement is um, that a reminder of upcoming events. I'm a little bit out of practice. Miami inversions. Don't avert the Miami immersion. So the Miami immersion is February 8th through the 10th down in Miami. Beautiful weather. Los Angeles immersion, February 15th through the 17th. Houston immersion is the February 22nd to 24th. If you're not sure what immersion is, it's an immersion into the numbers into a property. It's an immersion into the actual property itself because we tour properties, and then there is the immersion into the team building aspect of the business. It's generally the second event that you'll attend after Multifamily Millions. Gets you a little bit deeper. Multifamily Millions is the breadth and the depth of the information, and the immersion really is a deep dive because there's only so much we can teach you during that Multifamily Millions. We also have Business Building March 13th and 14th here in Boston, which I will personally take you to dinner at the Harvard Club. That's going to be a beautiful thing. It's always a lot of fun. The Private Money event is March 15th through the 17th, and that is how to raise all the private money that you possibly can. And then we have the Ultimate Partner 219, July 19th to 21st. I can just say this. We are under negotiations with a very spectacular keynote speaker this year. So we're about midway through. I can't say much more than that because if I give away my hand, he may see this podcast somewhere and I might blow my negotiations. But I want to give high fives to Rebecca Stupenagel, and Margene Fields Buckner from Phoenix, Arizona. They recently closed 49 units in the big city. In Big Sky, Texas, on January 19th. Purchase price was $1.75 million. Property is directly across the street from a 68 unit that they closed in August. Price for that was 3.6. Value add for the 49 units was the improvement of the parking lots to enhance the curb appeal. Put a rub system in to increase the rents, which are below markets. And a quick note from Margene. A year after joining the Ari Mentor family, we are working on closing our third deal. This deal will put us over the 200 units in less than a year. We simply could not have had this much traction and success without the help and guidance of the Ari Mentor team. I am proud to be part of an amazing organization, and for anyone on the fence about joining, my advice is to just jump in. Just do it. Just Nike. Our goal is to be on stage and be one of the. Our goal is to be on stage at the Ultimate Partnering event and get one of the Hall of Fame plaques or trophies, which they are actually on their way. I'll take a look at my phone because I also I was coming back from the great Super Bowl win from our hated New England Patriots. Tom Brady, I hate you, but I can't quit you. That's what we hear all over the United States wherever we go, but we don't care. All right. So I went with my brother Jeff. I went with my sister Tammy. We had a pretty good time. It was a lot of fun. The game was so stressful. Why can't they just blow them out? I don't know. But as I was getting off the plane in Boston, I had someone walk up to me and said, "Hey, are you Dave Lindahl?" And I thought, "Geez, I thought I was incognito here with the beard." And I said, "I am." And he said, "Oh, you probably don't know me, but my name is Seth. I'm one of the students for Ari Mentor. And my father lives in Maine. He lived in Atlanta, so he was going back to Atlanta. He was coming up to watch the Super Bowl with his dad, and he was taking the flight that I was getting off to get back to Atlanta. And he said, I just want you to know that I joined about a year and a half ago, and I closed my first 100-unit deal. He'd done a couple of smaller deals before that, but he was really excited. And he said, oh, your brother's immersion training was unbelievable. Everybody says that about that. And I said, oh, well, as a matter of fact, you can thank Jeff because he's going to be off the plane in a little bit because he sat about 4 rows behind me. So a high five to you, Seth Turner from Atlanta. All right, we're going to open up the lines, press *0, and the operator will queue you up. You can ask any question that you want. You get a lot of real estate knowledge, you got a lot of life knowledge. Been through a lot. In the meantime, as you're pressing *0 and queuing up, hey operator, can you just acknowledge that you're there because I want to make sure I can hear you in my ear?
Hi, I'm here. I'll
Okay,
let them
good.
know how to ask a question as well. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, if you have any questions, please press *0. Again, that is *0 for any questions.
All right, so as she's queuing up the questions, I've got a couple of. First, I want to welcome the Deal Lab students that are on watching right now, or listening. Welcome. Got a question from Ria Tobin from San Diego, California. She says, I'm working on a deal and getting close, but we're about 65K apart. I'm looking for creative financing suggestions that can help close the gap. Current owners are older, looking to retire. Any suggestions could be greatly appreciated. Well, you certainly want to hit upon the fact that if they take an annuity, payments instead of a lump sum, it's going to defer their taxes. And if they're older, they'll probably want their taxes deferred. So that might be one angle you're going to. I really don't have enough information here because you say you're 65,000 apart, but I don't know if you're at 135,000 and they're at 200,000, or if you're at 2 million and they're at 2,065,000. So there's a lot of different strategies for each one. But the best thing always to do is to run the numbers by the seller. Sit down with them, work the numbers, explain to them how you buy, explain to them that this is the way all rational investors buy. And if they don't sell to you, then they'll be looking to sell to somebody else who's going to have the same criteria, and they'll have to go through it all again. So a lot of times, just working and helping them understand the numbers is a good negotiating tactic and skill to have. All right. The next one is from Fred Wendorf from Leesburg, Virginia. Fred writes in, can you clear up some things for us? We're getting conflicting information on what to include in the closing costs, other field on the underwriting template. IRA Mentor documents include for closing costs, other, capital improvement reserves, syndication fee, 6 months first year insurance premium, utility deposit, initial minor expenses, total rehab costs, 2 months operating expenses, realtor commissions to be paid by the seller. These items add significant cost to the sale as a result. And results. And can you provide a more detailed explanation of the weight of their importance? It will be very helpful for our analysis. All right. So, Fred, here's the deal on each one of these. Capital improvement reserve. The bank's going to require that you have at least 1 year of reserves in the bank when you take over that property. And that's going to have to come from somewhere. So it typically comes from your investors as the deal starts. And then they're going to take a little bit each month so that those reserves are always maintained. You play this game with the lending institution because every quarter you put in the invoices to get as much of that reserve back as you can. And don't forget to put in invoices any particular quarter, because if you don't, you'll have to wait another quarter to get that money out. And a lot of times those reserves really build up. So the syndication fee. So the syndication fee is the fee that you put in your pocket for bringing the deal to the table, for educating yourself, for the ability to do these deals. And it's industry standard that in this industry that your investors pay it. So you might as well get it and put it in your pocket. Sure, you could. You could kick that cost out if you want, but that's part of the fun in this business, is getting a big check at closing. 6 months first year insurance premium. That's a little bit conservative. Typically they're gonna require that. Actually, I don't know why it says 6 months. That should a lot of times that says first year, depending upon your reputation and your the amount of business you've been doing. So if you are doing your first deal, they're going to require that you pay the entire insurance up front. If you've got you've been doing some deals, they may require less, maybe a deposit, 6-month deposit, and then you can quote unquote finance in the rest. The utility deposit, that's going to be required from the bank. From the lending institution. No, I'm sorry, from the utility department. So each utility department is different. The reason they started these fees many years ago is because landlords were skipping out on the last bill. So now, I remember I had to pay an $85,000 utility deposit on a 400-unit property. But fortunately, I went to the bank. This is a little tip. I went to the bank where I was putting in the operating account, and this was in Huntsville, Alabama. I went to the bank where I was putting in the operating account, and I asked them for a letter of credit for the $85,000, which it was personally guaranteed, but I didn't have to come out of pocket with any costs. And I presented that to the bank. You know what that reminds me of? There's another property that I sold last year, and I didn't get it back yet. Thanks for the question, Fred. That one was only for $15,000, but yet it's $15,000 I didn't get back in my pocket. So you can get a letter of credit from the bank. That one I put the cash down in on. A letter of credit from the bank of a way to negotiate bringing your business to the bank, and then you won't have to come out of pocket because that money is just stagnant the whole time. The deal that I was just talking about, that I forgot about, that utility deposit, I bought that deal in 2006. So that's how long they've been holding that $15,000, earning no interest. Total initial minor expenses to make readies. Well, you're going to have to bring those make readies up to make ready status. Actually, that should be a requirement of the purchase and sale agreement that all units be at rent ready condition. And if they're not, that's why you do the final walkthrough prior to, and then you go negotiate what it's going to take to get to rent ready condition. And you should actually be getting money off or back from the seller. But the initial minor expenses, no limit. So, but the total rehab costs, those are usually what's called immediate repairs. So you need to do those immediate repairs immediately. And that money needs to come from somewhere, or potentially, you're going to rehab, you're going to maybe update the lighting packages throughout the apartment complex, throughout the units. Maybe you're going to put in two-tone paints, maybe there's miscellaneous things you may be doing for upgrading. And maybe there's some down units that need to be brought online. So those are rehab costs that are real. That money's going to have to come from somewhere, and that money comes from your investors. 26 months or 2 months operating expenses. Yeah, 2 months operating expenses. There's a lot of things that happen in these apartments. You always want to have some money in the bank just in case. You go through a rough period. You need some capital. Roofs blow off. Boiler systems go down. All kinds of things. Flooding happens. Down units. People have to be displaced because of hurricanes. All kinds of things. You want that two months in there. And then the realtor's commission to be paid by the buyer. That's only if you're paying a commission to a realtor to buy that property. Very, very rare, but sometimes you do. I remember we bought a property in Texarkana, 192 units. And a broker actually came to us, told us it was a short sale from the bank. So if we wanted to buy the deal from the bank, then we would pay them a 2% broker's commission. And we were happy to do that because it was a really good deal. So there's a couple of questions. I got a couple more in case we have some downtime. So operator, who is our first questioner?
Our first question comes from Paulette. Paulette, please state your question.
Paulette.
Hear me? Hi. Can you hear me?
How are you? I can.
I'm good. I'm fine. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Today, I just got my first feedback for my LOI. The buyer is willing to negotiate the deal, but they don't want to pay the closing costs. Now, all the other terms are pretty decent.
Yeah.
What should I do as far as that? I've asked the listing agent if they're willing to do half.
So how big's the deal? What's the purchase price?
How much is the deal? They wanted $977, and I negotiated him down to $840.
Yeah, good for you.
And it's
Do you have
15 units.
Okay. Yeah, are you bringing investors into the deal?
I am trying to bring some investors in the deal. I'm working with Jeannie and Linda, my coaches, as well.
Linda, all the coaches are great, but Linda's story is really good. Linda is still, I think, is a nurse. She loves taking care of people. She came to us. She actually lives about an hour from here. And I remember having lunch with her. Anytime anybody calls in and says, "Hey, can I have lunch with you?" I say, "Sure." So she was talking about how her husband wasn't really into it, but she was, and she can see it. She saw the vision after she heard the presentation, and she really wanted to do it. And then she started with a 6-unit and another 6-unit, and then boom, she just exploded. And she's just full of energy. But from the initial the initial explanation that you gave me tells me that the deal works with closing costs included. So therefore, you can. I mean, if the sellers don't pay the closing costs, they don't pay. They don't pay the closing costs, and then you just have your investors come up with that money. Right?
Okay.
Does the deal? Wait a minute. No, let me double think that. Does the deal work with the closing costs in it?
Yeah, the deal works with everything, but it has the closing cost way. We used the underwriting template.
Yeah.
Everything was in all the closing costs was included in that configuration.
Good. So the deal works with the closing costs. So yeah, just have your investors, just add that to the amount of the raise, and you got a deal.
Okay.
Then you get a deal. Then it's like, oh my God, I got a deal. Now what am I going to do? Then the fun really begins.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You think it was stressful trying to get a deal? It's double, triple, quadruple stressful doing a deal. And then when you finally close it, then the asset management of a deal can be very stressful at times if you don't have the right asset management company. All right. Who's the next caller?
There are no further questions at this time. Again, ladies and gentlemen, that is *0 for any questions.
All right. I am going to go to the sheet, and I am going to take a question from Chris Pello from Centennial, Colorado. He says, on an assumable loan, do we owe the owner upfront cash, the remainder of the purchase price minus the loan amount? And is this placed in closing costs other? Okay, so here's a few things on an assumable loan that you need to know. First of all, so let's do an example. Let's say an easy example. Let's say that we've got $1 million purchase price. Let's say that there's $700,000 left of debt on the property that's assumable. So your raise, a normal 20% raise, which would be $200,000, because you would get a mortgage for $800,000, now drops to a $300,000 raise because you're assuming it for $700,000. So that money is actually amount that you raised to bring into the deal. Now you can check that note and see if it allows what's called subordinated debt. And if it allows subordinated debt, then you could put another 10% on there and raise it up to 20%, depending on who the lender that you're using. And so those are the requirements of an assumable. A couple other things you should know about an assumable is number one, it's going to cost you 1% to assume that deal. Number two, they're going to look at your strength, the strength of you and the strength of the current note holder. And they're looking for you to have equal or greater strength than the current note holder for them to approve you taking over that debt, because they don't want to go into a position of weakness now where they've been in a position of somewhat strength, because they're changing borrowers on a particular debt instrument. Number three, these assumables always take longer than you assume, okay, or than you think, I should say. So the normal 60, 90-day closing is going to take a minimum of 3 months to close on one of these deals. So just know that. Make sure you have extensions in your purchase and sale agreement if you're going to assume that debt. And that's what you should know about assumables. All right, operator. Anybody else on that line?
Next on the line, we have Mark. Mark, please state your question.
What's up, Mark?
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. This is Mark and I'm over here in the East Bay, San Francisco.
Nice.
And Dave, it's great to meet you over the phone, man. I took the boot camp in November with Tyler Devereaux.
Oh, yeah.
Out here in San Mateo, San Francisco, and it's fantastic. And I'm really fired up. Sherry Jones is my coach. And I'm just really excited. I got a couple of quick questions here. I'm just analyzing some properties. I'm getting some brokers, building my power team, following up on some money contacts. I haven't submitted any offers yet, but I'm setting up my business entity now with Bob Bloom.
Yep.
So but here's get to it, Dave. Specifically, I'm looking at the emerging market of Stockton. I'm looking
Yeah.
at some properties, and just this one here in particular, and it's 21 units. And the first thing about it is the mix. It's 14 studios and 6 one-bedrooms.
Yeah.
No two bedrooms at all. Is that something that we should go for with 14 studios and just 6 one-bedrooms?
Have you seen the property? Did you walk it?
No, I haven't.
Well, here's the thing with those studios. It's a very transient type of a tenant. It's usually somebody that, is in this particular period of is in a life transition, maybe a divorce, maybe a rehab, or something. So there's much higher turnover. Or the other typical tenant in a smaller unit like that is somebody in the lower socioeconomic scale. So they have difficulty making rent payments. So you're going to have higher turnover. There's higher management. You just have to be aware of that. And I would really look at the numbers for the last 2 years to make sure that it's been at a level where you need it to be profitable. The other thing too is sometimes these properties are in decent areas and you have elderly people living there, and if that's the case, then it's really good because they tend to stay a long time. As a matter of fact, they usually only make one more move from that apartment. You know what that is?
Right.
That's to the grave.
To the grave, yeah. They're going to live there until they die. Yeah, I hear you.
I used to say that was a joke. I used to say it when I used to teach on stage, and it used to get some good laughs. But yeah, my grandmother. I used to add to that too because my grandmother moved from a single family house to a trailer right next to a graveyard. And I was 12 years old. I was like, Nana, why did you move next to a cemetery? She goes, when I go, you guys just throw me over the fence. I'm like, oh my God, Nana, we're not going to throw you over the fence. But yeah, so that just know that it's a very high maintenance management deal, and you're dealing with clientele that's on the lower end of the spectrum in most cases.
Okay, and I really appreciate that. And just adding on to that, the other part of that though is that in considering the Holy Trinity,
yeah.
I'm looking at this property, 21 units in terms of the Holy Trinity. I'm looking at a cap rate at 6%. Looking at the asking price of $1.5 million, it's a 6% cap rate. The cash on cash is only 4.9%. The debt coverage is 1.4%. And so all those numbers are really low, of course, underneath the Holy Trinity. And then when I'm working the numbers to get, it's 1.5 million. And then to hit the 8%, the strike price would be 1.1 million. Does it make sense to put in an offer? Like I'm looking at, I'd have to put an offer of like maybe 1 million.
Yeah, it makes sense to put that offer in because the deal doesn't work if you buy it for any more than that, right? If it doesn't meet the Trinity,
Right.
The deal doesn't work. So, and I wouldn't put the offer in that Trinity. I would put it a little bit below so you can negotiate a little bit. So you don't know how steadfast the seller is or what type of predicament the seller's in, why they're selling. Some cases you know why they're selling, but most cases you don't. So if you like it, put the offer in, see what happens. Get some experience. That's a point. Get as many offers as you can in there, whether or not you think they're way low. Remember boot camp? We had the offer script. So just follow that offer script.
Okay, because what I'm getting at is like if the asking is 1.5, if I offer 1 million with a strike price of 1.1 million, does it make sense to go for it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, because they could come. Here's the deal. They could come back and they could agree, and now you got a deal. You start the process of due diligence. They could come back and not agree, and then negotiate. You don't go right to the 1.1. You go to 1.50 and see what they do. Sometimes they'll come back and say, well, no, it's either this or nothing, and it's above your strike price, and then you go to strike price. You just don't walk away. You go to strike price and say, well, the highest I can go is this, or else I need to walk away. And if they need higher, then you walk away. So regardless, there's going to be a back and forth, and usually 2 or 3 times, and you're going to get valuable experience during that back and forth because not all negotiations are the same, and the more experience you can rack up, the better you're going to do in future deals.
Yes. Great.
Yeah, and here's the biggest thing. Wait, but one more thing. Oh. The most important thing is that no, you cannot do a deal. You can absolutely not get into any deal without an offer, right? Yeah. So that's why we say put in 2 offers a week. Just keep putting those offers in.
Yeah.
Number one, you'll get great experience. Doesn't matter how low it is. We don't believe in low ball offers. We believe in putting in offers that are based on what a reasonable investor would pay for a property. That's what we do. That we're reasonable conservative investors. Yeah, number two, you get all that experience. So get those offers out there. And before you know it, one of those low balls are going to hit. It's like, holy crap, now I got a deal. It's a good thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Thank
Good
you,
luck
Dave.
out there. Nice talking to you.
Fired up. Thanks a lot. All right, take care.
Take care. All right. Who's next? Who's next in the Wisecracker line?
Next on the line, we have Leif. Leif, please state your question.
Hi, Dave. This is Leif Cedar from Denver, Colorado.
Hey, Lace, what's going on out there?
I have a question about structuring LLCs.
All right.
Do you prefer to do a separate LLC for each property, or do you have like an umbrella LLC, like a holding company or something like that, with all your LLCs underneath or DBAs underneath one LLC? How do you prefer to do that?
Everything's they're all separated, so you treat them each as their own business. When I was buying small, yes. When I was buying smaller properties, because in your LLCs is going to be different partners too, usually.
Okay.
But when I was buying smaller properties, the 3 to 6 unit properties that I held so many back in the early days, I actually did those in trust, and I kept everything under a subchapter S course. What's that called? A chapter S. Is that right? Somebody knows what I'm talking about out there, but not the C corp. Oh, an S corp. So we kept everything under the umbrella of an S corp. But with the protection of the LLCs, anytime you're going anything over 3 units or more, I would do LLCs. Yeah, I think I exposed myself to a lot of risk back then. But
you just do an LLC for each one.
Yeah, I would. I mean, it's cheaper to do the trust, and LLCs are expensive. They're $500 a year just to renew in most states. But the protection is, it's unlimited protection. So, and always talk to your attorney. And I can't. This isn't certainly legal advice because I'm not an attorney. But have the attorney take a look at what your goals are. The types of properties you're going to be buying, how many you want to buy, what time frame, and all that. And then they'll give you a good structure. Like we recommend Bob Bloom, we recommend Clint Coons, Anderson Law. Sit down with those guys and talk to them and say, all right, this is what my plan is. How should I best structure it? So in the end, when I'm looking to divest, I can get the best result. So that would be a smart thing to do at the beginning.
Okay, great. And then a follow-up to that previous caller when you were talking about putting in different offers, and is there a certain point where a broker might get frustrated with you because you keep putting in low-ball offers way lower than what the asking price is because you're trying to hit your strike? Is there a certain point where a broker might say, I'm not going to take you seriously anymore?
No, he'll never say that if you present properly, because you're presenting the right numbers. He'll know based on the information that's out there that he'll actually take you more seriously, because he'll know that you're looking at the true numbers and you're coming up with a real offer, what the property's really worth. Now, sometimes in fast-moving markets, they always try to get in listing brokers. Some of them, they're all out for getting the biggest commission that they can, so the highest price that they can. So they come up with these different stories as why the numbers should work, blah blah blah. But so they'll never tell you that they're not taking you seriously. Or sometimes they might. Who knows? Some of these guys, they're not the guys and girls. Most of the time, everybody's very very amiable because they don't make a commission unless they sell a property. And they like to have relationships with good investors that they know can close deals, closers. But they'll also weed themselves out, because if they're a broker, like most markets and millicap brokers, always try to get the highest price that they can. So therefore, when you're trying to get a deal from a markets and millchap listing, it's very rarely does it meet the Trinity. It doesn't. It's not never, but rarely, just because that's their mindset. The price this thing higher than the market, and then potentially come down. But hopefully, some crazy is going to come along and scoop that up. Maybe somebody that's in a 1031 exchange situation. So those people weed themselves out, and you don't want to do business with those people anyways. We only want to do people that will do listings the way that we can buy them. That understand the buying and selling process through the investor's eyes. And there not as many of those as the other ones, but they're out there. That's why there's so many successful students. That's how I became successful. It's finding those people. So sometimes people will be rude. Very rarely though are they rude, but you can read them pretty well. Like if you tell somebody that you're looking for an 8 to 10% cash on cash, in the marketplace, and they say you'll never find that in this market. Well, they just told you that they don't list properties like that, so you'll never get it from them. So that's good. So you just check them off the list, and now you're gonna go, play in another ball field.
Well, yeah, I mean, in Denver, in this market, I mean, there's everything's just 5 or 6 caps.
It's always like that in Denver, even in the down markets. It's one of the few markets where the sellers always put their properties in the market way higher, than an investor would pay. I don't know, where they get that from, but that is, maybe all the brokers do that. I don't know why it is. But
I mean, are there investors out there that are really buying these properties at 6 caps?
Yeah. There was a time when the Chinese investors were coming in and putting crazy money on properties in U.S. real estate. There's overseas investors tend to pay more because they just want a place to park their money when they're living under a regime that may take their money. So you run into situations like that, and that's what these people are looking for. There are some investors out there that only like family offices, people that are going to hold a property for 20 or 30 years. They're only looking for a certain return on their money. So there are people that are buying them at that point, but there are also deals out there that you can get for the numbers that we put together as well. For instance, in that market, we've got a coach, Jeff Kissy, that he started in Denver. Usually, I don't tell people if somebody doesn't live in Denver. That's not a market I tell people to go to because of what happens here. It's really a relationship market. Right. The relationships will get you the deals. So Jeff established some relationships with some good brokers, and now he's doing a lot of deals.
I've definitely have talked to him, and it's amazing that he has gotten those deals.
Well, that's what it is.
I'm personally looking in the Midwest, but then I heard that you shouldn't buy somewhere that you can't drive to in a day.
Who said that?
That
didn't come from any of our team members.
That you should start out buying properties where you could get to in a day.
I never said that.
Okay.
But I can tell you what.
That's where it seems like there's still some pretty good deals out there.
This is the advice that I typically give, and that is be doing business in your own backyard, because that's where you can meet the brokers face-to-face. It's easier to meet the brokers face-to-face. You can take them out to lunch. You can build relationships easier. You can walk more properties. You can get more on-the-ground experience when you're in your own backyard. You can meet with the other team members, the management companies, the attorneys, the appraisers. They're all right there. So the experience that you get meeting these people face-to-face is experience that you can parlay in an emerging market at the same time. So I like to give the strategy of investing in your own backyard, and no matter how tight your own backyard is, and have an emerging market as well that you can be doing work with. But no, I mean, I wouldn't
just practice in my own backyard and while looking in other places.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dave. Really appreciate your time, and enjoy the rest of your week, and congratulations on the Pats.
Thank you. Number 6, 7, and 8 are coming up.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Okay, who's next?
Next on the line, we have Michelle. Michelle, please state your question.
Hi, Dave. Nice to talk to you.
You too. What's going on?
Well, I'm currently looking in the Midwest for my properties, but I'm running into a kind of a shortfall every time I go to submit my offers. I'm not getting them accepted, and usually my cap rates are running at 6 point something or 7.
Yeah.
When I'm doing these properties, and I'm trying to find out a better way. What if I'm doing something wrong when I'm doing the underwriting, or what? I'm trying to get my offers accepted, and I'm not getting it done.
Well, tell me about your best broker relationship. Describe it to me.
My best Right now my best broker relationship is that she sends me deals continually, but they're not really deals once I do the underwriting. She states it's a good deal. They're usually private clients that she's trying to unload some of their deals on. And
Tell me about your last conversation with her. When was it?
my last conversation was I have a deal. It was an assumable loan, and
How long ago was this?
I couldn't really figure out what my purchase price was versus the down.
Okay,
payment.
hold on. So, wait. How long ago was this conversation?
Last week.
All right. And did you talk about anything else other than that deal?
Well, she sent me other deals, but like
All right.
I've been like
But
I
did you
have
talk?
one in
All right.
Georgia.
Let me be more specific. I'm actually taking you down a path. Okay. So did you talk about? Did you only talk about real estate? Did you talk about anything else?
No.
What's the
No.
thing that you have most in common with this broker in life?
Well, that both of us played sports.
There you go. So do you ever talk about sports?
Not since the first time I've talked to her.
Oh, see, that's where your mistake is. So, the problem is, and this is the problem for many investors that are struggling, is the fact that they haven't taken the time to grow their relationships. All right, and the way you grow your relationships with a broker is you talk about things other than real estate. You talk about sports. You find commonality. You find those things that you both are passionate about. So, do you guys play the same sports?
Yes.
Which sports are they?
Basketball.
Okay, so basketball. Are you both fans of the WNBA?
Yes.
So there you go. You know, I don't know if there's a team in where she's from, but you know, I would follow her team. I would talk about her team. I would send her tickets, you know, to go to the games. That's how. I mean, you're both passionate about it, so that's how you actually start creating a friendship, and then people want to do business with their friends, and that's how these deals get made. I was just talking about Jeff Kissy to the other gentleman, and Jeff Kissy. He got his first deal because a broker was having a baby, and they went out and bought a baby buggy for the baby for the husband and the wife, and they were working this broker for a couple of months, and then after they bought that baby buggy, a deal came right along. So that's what you got to do. You want to find commonality. I don't know if Jeff was having a baby at the same time or not, but he just saw an opportunity to give value, which was a baby buggy, to somebody that was, you know, bringing a new child into the world. But if you will focus on the what you have in common with the broker, especially, so they send you a deal, the deal doesn't work, right? So I would say, I would call the broker and say, hello, broker. Hey, before I talk about this deal, hey, did you see the game last night? What do you think about this player? You know, get into that, and then after you get into all that, then you talk about real estate. And you'll get a good quality deal much faster. She will not just emailing you deals. What will happen is when they email you a deal that works, okay, like a pocket listing, they don't just email you a deal. There's always a phone call first. It's like, I'm sorry, what was your first name again?
Michelle.
So it's like, so you get a phone call. I was like, Michelle, this is the broker. She's like, yeah. So I just want you to know I'm going to email you this deal. Okay, it's not on the market yet, and I think the broker, I think the price guidance on this is the broker. I mean the seller's looking for X amount. You know, go through the numbers, see what you can do, and boom, there you go. You got a pocket listing. You and probably a few other people have it, and now you know. Once you start getting phone calls like that, now you know you've done the relationship building properly. Make sense?
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's and that is for everybody out there. You know, take those steps, build those relationships, and once you start building those relationships, the deals will just cut. You'll be busier than ever. It's the way the business is.
Thanks.
All right. Good luck, Michelle.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome. All right. Who's next out there?
Up next, we have Philip. Philip, please state your question.
Hello, Dave. Thank you so much for taking the time to take my call. I just finished a 3-day boot camp this past Sunday with Tyler Devereaux.
Yeah.
Excellent, boot camp. Really enjoyed it.
Good stuff.
So I have, 2 questions. One, is, what is the best way to get started with investing? And 2, what is the best way to get started with investing?
Yeah.
Good.
Good stuff.
So I have I have two questions for you. The first one, I just talked to my first broker today and got an
Good for you.
email with a lot of different properties on it. Some of
Yeah.
them, most of them didn't even have price.
Yeah.
So some did. And I'm not totally shocked by that on the first one. He and I are going to have lunch together next week.
Ooh, good.
But what kind of comeback do I have for him to say, hey, you gave me a bunch of items with no price, therefore I can't do an analysis, therefore I can't tell you nay or yay.
No. That's the absolutely wrong thing to say because you would just give up the fact that you're not experienced. So what
Okay.
just happened was he gave you what's called the dump. Okay, you met a broker. He doesn't really know you. You don't really know him. So he's going to send you everything he's got to see if anything will stick. Okay, that's okay. That's usually the initial first step. When there's no prices on the property, it's usually best to offer. So what you've got to do is you've got to do the numbers on the deals and then give your best offer. So
Got
I'm
it.
not sure. Were all of these deals this broker's listings? His own personal listings?
Not sure because I was actually driving from Houston to Arlington, and I was just opening up the PDF on my phone. He sent a map with properties throughout different parts of Texas, as well as a PDF with a listing of each property.
Well, that's a good question to ask. That's a good question to ask because if they're all his listings, that means he's a really good listing broker, and you want to do whatever you can to create a relationship with him.
Okay.
But so I would take I would take a few of those properties. This gives you an opportunity to analyze deals. I would take this opportunity, analyze a few of these deals, some of the ones that they have prices, so you'll know how far or how higher than they are than market. Because when somebody dumps all these properties on you like that, that means none of them usually are good deals because they've probably been on the market for a while. You know, just like I described earlier, the pocket listings are the ones that go fast, and they usually go before they hit the market. So I would do the ones with the prices. And then see where you are in relation to those prices, and just explain to them what type of a buyer you are. So here's your opportunity now to analyze some deals. Go back to the broker and say, hey, look, I analyze these deals. These are my numbers. This is what I'm getting. And typically this is how I buy and what type of properties fit that mold. And you've just told them that you're an educated investor and you buy a certain way. And if he's a broker that sells the same way as you buy, then you guys can do a dance.
Excellent. Well, by the way, I reached out to 50 brokers on LoopNet, and 2 have responded so far. So that's a 4% return. So I keep doing that. The other question I had was regarding
wait.
To see what you
Before
thought about the market.
Hold on.
Woodlands, which is about 4 miles away. It's a master plan community. For example, there's 8 golf courses in the Woodlands.
What's the market called?
Woodlands, THEWOODLAND.
And where is it? What state? What city and state? I mean, what state?
I'm sorry, Texas. It's about 4 miles north of Houston, right on I-45 north.
Oh, I'm not really familiar with that market.
Okay.
And I'm not familiar with the Houston market right now either, now that I think of it. Now that you just brought that up, I was just reviewing. I'm about to come up with the top 10 markets for the start of the year. Houston did not even pop up at all when I was doing my research. So that tells me that market's kind of probably in a transition limbo. I know it was doing really well, but it just tells me that it could be. I'm not for sure because I haven't done the research on that particular market, but usually if you're a market outside of a major city, then you lag that major city by 6 months, a year, 2 years. So there's always some sort of a relationship to the major city. So one of the things you want to ask the brokers is, what that relationship is. Is there a lag time between the city and here? Let me go back to another point that you made, that you called 50 brokers, but only 4 of them or 2 or 4 of them go back to you, 4% response. That is very typical because you're cold calling, which is okay. And it usually takes a lot of higher numbers in cold calling for brokers to call you back because they don't know who you are. There's no real incentive to call you back unless, you've given them some sort of an incentive on the phone. But
Right.
yeah, so they're looking at their times like who's this guy? Do I know him? If not, then why should I call him back? So
Right.
kudos for making all those calls. But I just want everybody to know that response rate is typical. But not to say that don't do it. A lot of people don't like to cold call, so I kudos to you for that. I was just thinking of Mark from Corpus Christi, another coaching student from about a decade ago. And he would cold call. He cold called every day, and that's how we got his deals. And he had quite a few deals in the Corpus Christi area from doing that.
Well, I've done outside sales. I've done a lot of cold calls, so I don't have any problem with cold calling. I've done that for years.
Yeah, I used to own a brokerage company, and originally it was just I was buying and selling so many properties, single families, to buy my multifamilies that I thought, well, I'll just open a brokerage company, get another stream of income. Have my sister manage it, and I grow it along with the other businesses. It turned out that her husband didn't want her working after 3:00 in the afternoon, and that's when most of the action happens in those businesses or on the weekends. And so I ended up doing the management as well. So I've always been the type of leader that does first, and then does what I try to what I'm leading. So I learned how to cold call, and I learned from Floyd Wickman. Do you recognize that name? Anybody in real estate, an old timer in real estate, will recognize that name. Floyd Wickman was all about, he had this cold calling system, and he had his numbers down. It was 75 calls to get one listing appointment. It took 3 listing appointments to get one listing. And he said, if you just follow those numbers, then you'll be successful. And I followed those numbers, and I learned that system, and I taught it to all my agents, and the ones that followed it, they were successful as well. So
Great.
Life is a numbers game.
Numbers I can use as a metric.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Good to hear from you.
I appreciate it. Thanks again for developing the training courses.
No, you're welcome. Good luck out there.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, who's next? We got about 8 minutes to go. Yeah. My voice is a little hoarse from doing all that shouting at the game.
Up next, we have Alicia. Alicia, please state your question.
Hi, Dave. Alicia Martin here from Los Angeles.
Alicia, what's going on?
Welcome back, first and foremost, and your haircut looks great. Great job.
My haircut?
Yeah, it looks nice.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So I wanted to ask a question in regards to the first lady who asked about if the closing
Melania?
costs, if you
Are you talking about Melania?
She said something about the first lady, Gary one, said
Melania.
something about the closing costs going in the deal.
Yeah.
So what I was trying to find out is where would we put that to see if it works with the numbers? Would it go under the closing/acquisitions in the other section?
Yes. That's where it goes.
And then I had one other question. Should we have like a second mortgage on the underwriting template to not get the NUM?
Hold on a second, because I think I just might have confused you. So when you're saying, are you saying the box that says other? Or
the
closing costs other box?
Closing is underneath the acquisition fee.
Yeah, so that all those are your typical closing costs. Yes. Okay.
So,
you're right.
So if we were trying to see if the closing costs would go with the deal, would we just enter them right there in the closing cost - other, right under our acquisition fee?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that was what you said pretty much. And then I was wondering, should we always include like a second mortgage of some sort in order to not get the #NUM thing over in the net operating area?
I'm not sure what you're talking about. The #NUM?
Yeah, so it says NUM. It's like where the secondary debt service is, and then underneath that, the cash flow before taxes. All of that is like NUM if you don't put a second mortgage in. So I was wondering, should we always include a second mortgage as to not get that? Is that like the norm to have a second mortgage on these type of deals?
No, it's not normal. Maybe I'm not. I've never actually seen what you're talking about. So maybe if you put a default of 0 in there, then that won't happen. Oh wait a minute. Here comes Jeff for an explanation. Come on in. Get on camera. It was Jeff. It was Jeff and I cheering on the Patriots, and my sister Tim. So explain it.
Hey, Jeff.
Okay. The answer. Oh wait. Here. She's talking to you.
Okay, so you'll see in that over in that cell where it says secondary financing, there's like
Right down there.
there's 250 in there. So what that basically is doing, right, is taking whatever calculations that are in there, they're pushing it way out. You could have like 999 years in there, but if you take out that 250, then you're gonna get all those like non-calculations, all those nums that you're seeing.
Okay, so I should always put 250 in there, whether I have a second mortgage or not.
If you have a second mortgage, put the terms in there. If you don't, then leave the 250 in there.
Got it. That makes sense because I just did that and it corrected. Thank you.
You're
I have
welcome.
one last question.
Hold on a second. Let me switch it over.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Thank you. Yep. All right, how's that? Straight from the horse's mouth.
That worked perfect.
Yeah.
So my last question is, I contacted a real estate agent and spoke with him over the phone. He told me to email him and give him my criteria, what I'm looking for. And then he emailed me back and he asked me for a proof of funds before he'll even send me a list. Is that normal?
Yeah. No, I can tell you, you made a mistake somewhere along the lines that made him feel that he was talking to somebody that was novice, or wasn't sure what they were doing. So are you coaching student, mentorship student?
Yeah, so I just took the boot camp with Steve Clements like 2 weeks ago, I think it's now. And
excellent.
I'm doing immersions on the 15th here in Los Angeles, Newport Beach.
All right, awesome.
And,
okay, so wait, hold on. The reason I asked you
yet.
that is because there is a recording in the online training that is I forget what it's called. Hey Jeff, do you want to come back in and tell me what that training is called? It's by Coach Don Golf and Craig Picard, and it's all about why you get asked for proof of funds, and it's all about how to talk to a broker, because that's what happened. You said something that triggered the broker to think, I better do a little bit more diligence on this particular person. What's that training called?
Just go to the search menu at the top and put in Bill Ham, POF.
That's Bill Ham? Okay. Jeff said go into the search and put in Bill Ham, one of our other coaches, Bill Ham, POF, proof of funds, POF, and that recording will pop up. And you want to listen to that. And that will explain exactly the attitude and how you want to handle brokers when you're first meeting them the first time. Hey, if anybody out there that's listening is not a mentorship student, I believe in giving you all the tools that you can to get out there. So if you want to email Jeannie at what's Jeannie's email? J Orlowski at arimentor.com. No, actually, do Jeff Lindahl. It's easier. J Lindahl, JLindahl. No, do Jermaine. Sorry, I'm doing all these ones. Do Jermaine, because Jeff's not here a lot. Do Jay Evans. So if you're listening and you want that same recording, do Jay Evans at arimentor.com, and Jermaine will send you out that recording if you don't have access. But yeah, that's a really good recording. It's really all about the psychology of how to talk to a seller properly, because if you talk to a broker properly, they will never ask you for proof of funds.
Got it. He was my very first broker, by the way. I spoke with 3 after him, and I had everyone else send me. Well, one actually sent me a bunch of listings, and I'm going to start analyzing today. That's
why when I was out there teaching, I used to tell people to go to a market that you know you're not going to do business in, and get your experience there. Get all your butterflies out, get your experience there in terms of talking with people over the phone. Not actually doing business, but talking with brokers over the phone. And then, when you feel comfortable, which is a very short period of time, 3 or 4 phone calls, then you go into the market that you want to really focus on, and you won't have that problem at all.
Perfect. Thank you so much for answering all my questions, and I'll be sure to invite you out to lunch when I make it over to Boston.
Come on. Yeah, you got to give me a good heads up, but yep, come on over.
Sure thing. Thanks again. Have a good one.
You're welcome. All right, it's 2:00. I'm gonna take 2 more questions since it's been a while since I've been on the line. So, operator, we got 2 more people on the line.
We sure do. Our next question comes from Dana. Dana, please state your question.
Hi, Dave. I'm Dana from Houston. How are you?
Good. How's it going, Dana?
Great. I'm excited. I just signed up for your Diamond member program.
You're going to love it. It's going to hold you accountable, but you're going to love it.
I love it. Question I have is I'm a real estate agent.
Yep.
And in the state of Texas, to be a licensed realtor, a broker has to hold your license in order for you to work. Not only do they hold your license, but they get a percentage of your commission.
Okay.
So my broker was hearing me talk on the phone, calling for other brokers, and he was saying that he didn't want me to contact other commercial brokers and that I needed to go through him, and that it would be a referral fee, and then the referral fee would go through him, and then I wouldn't get my acquisition fee. Have you heard of this for
What?
realtors? That's what I was told today. And I was really quite alarmed that he was giving me the impression that I can't call and work any other state other than Texas, that that's where my license is held, and that I cannot be putting together these deals unless I'm going through him.
How long have you worked there?
A year.
He doesn't know what he's talking about. Number one, are you doing? Are you listing and selling a lot of properties? Is it residential or commercial?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it residential or commercial focus?
Residential.
Yeah, he
But,
doesn't know
you
what
know,
he's
I
talking about.
had clients come to me and contact me, and that's why I got into this program, was because I have people that want me to find them properties. They want to invest in this, and they want to purchase them outright wholly by themselves. But, you know, if they go in as an investor, they can actually purchase, have it. So this was the reason why I really wanted to go into this program. And I don't know if you know, what am I supposed to do?
I don't know how committed you are to this particular company, but I would find another company because first of all, this gentleman doesn't understand the investor side of it. Number one, he certainly, and number two, he's trying to control your transaction through his process. That's not a normal process. First of all, having all contacts to other commercial brokers go through him, that's crazy. You're an investor, or if you're a listing agent, you meet a lot of people at our events, people that are looking for deals. You're in the business, why not find them deals? He doesn't make any sense. I would find a company that was more residential, commercial combined, and I would explain to them what you're doing going through the door. So they understand it, and you just tell them, look, I've got clients that are going to be looking to buy commercial properties that I'm going to be selling them through the company, and then on my own, I'm going to be investing in other deals myself, and sometimes I'm going to go through the company on the buy side, but a lot of times I'm not, because it's always best when you're going with a listing broker not to take that buy side commission if you're a broker. I never did. So because you want to give that listing broker the biggest incentive that they can to make sure that you get that deal, and if he's got a choice between you and somebody else that's full commission and you're taking half, or your company's taking half, the other guy's going to get the deal. So yeah, I would find a company that will work within the parameters that you want to work within. That whoever you're dealing with now is too much control.
You said that I'm only licensed to work in the state of Texas. Like if I want to call commercial brokers in different cities.
That's tomorrow.
Like,
I thought it was today, but it's tomorrow too.
You're only licensed to the state.
No, that's only if you're going to sell a property out of state. Are you looking to sell people properties from other states?
No.
But you're looking to buy yourself through other states, right?
Sorry?
But you're looking to buy yourself through other states.
Correct.
Yeah, so he just doesn't understand the business. I mean, you could try to educate him, and if it doesn't work, I would move on. But he just doesn't understand what you're doing. And I'll tell you, if he doesn't understand what you're doing, then you don't want to be there anyways, because he's not going to be able to service your commercial clients that well either.
Right.
Is
there any any departments or anything that I need to check with to make sure that Texas real estate agents were not crossing any boundaries or anything like that?
As an agent, the only thing you need to do is disclose the fact anytime that you go to put an offer in on a property, especially a residential one. I'm not sure what the commercial rules are, in Texas. But I mean, the disclosure rule is probably the one that you should be the most concerned about following. But other than that, I mean, there's no, there's nowhere that I know. I would talk to an attorney if you're that concerned about it. But I mean, we've got many students. We've been teaching now for over 17 years. This is our 17th year. We've got, and I owned in 11 different markets in Texas. So I was in Texas a lot, over 4,800 units. And I have never heard of the situation that you're talking about from any of the students.
I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I had time to ask you, because it's just really, it was a shock.
Yeah. Move on. Either educate or move on, one or the other. But I think moving on would probably be the easiest thing to do. Talk with somebody, go to a company where there are. I mean, why don't you, I don't know, do you do a lot of single family buys and sells, listing and sales?
Good ones, larger ones, not a lot of small sales, and a lot of people looking for horse property and things like that.
Well, there's a lot of good agencies out there that will understand you and the type of business that you're doing, and just pick one and run with it. You're in a great market.
Well, thank you. You really put my mind at ease. I appreciate it so much.
You're welcome. Good luck out there.
Thank you.
All right, we got time for one more. Who's it going to be?
Our last question comes from James.
James,
please state your question.
Dave, James Herbert from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Thank you.
Hey, James, what's going on?
Just getting started. Kind of fell on my face with some personal issues, but picking it up, getting some traction now. Most of the brokers I'm dealing with here in Tulsa, they're spread out all over the place. So when I ask them for a deal or a listing,
yep,
I'm liable to get something from Wichita. I've got something from Woodward, Oklahoma, which is way out in the Panhandle, and these guys are all over the place. Some of them are in St. Louis. So, what are your recommendations as far as just zeroing in on Tulsa, or do I look at everything they're sending me and explore those markets as well?
No, I would. You pick your own market, and then you focus on that market until you get some traction and some experience, and then after that you go to another market. So I would just explain to them that you're only looking for that particular market, only the Tulsa market, and those are the types of deals that you want to see. Again, I'll go back to relationship building. When you build a relationship, a good relationship with a broker, they'll understand what what it is that you're looking for, and then they'll be the ones that are calling you with those particular listings. You may be, you may have gotten on lists, the general lists of these brokers, and now you're just getting anything that comes in the office to see if it sticks. So it's not like they say, oh, this would be. I'm sorry, what was your first name again? I should have listened more closely. James. Yeah, it's not like they're saying, I think this would be a great deal for James. I think you should go to St. Louis. I'm going to send him this listing. They sent that to you and 1,000 other people. You know what I mean? So they're just throwing things against the wall at this point. Until you start establishing good relationships with brokers, and start getting those phone calls, or while you're calling them, they're saying, hey, as a matter of fact, I'm about to list something. That's the other thing that happens when you're, contacting your brokers by phone every 10 days or so and just finding whatever that commonality is. And that's, by the way, that's the reason you call your brokers every 10 days or so. You find out what you have in common with them, and then you find a reason that deals with that commonality, like that the lady had said that she was into the sports in the WNBA. So you find something that has to do with sports that's current, and call up and say, hey, I'm just calling to say, hey, did you see this or did you see that? And by the way, how's business going and what do you got? Type of a thing. But you'd be a welcome call. You'd be an invited guest when you do that. And I actually got that from. I had a broker that I used to be a mortgage originator many, many years ago. And then I became friends with a broker. And then this is before my investing days. And this guy, every time he called me, he would always call me with something that I liked. Like I was like really excited. When I saw his name on my cell phone, I was like, wow, all right, cool. I'm going to take Bob's call. I take Bob's call because Bob always had something good to share with me. I anticipated it when I saw his name. That's what you want with your brokers too. And the way to get that is to call them about something that they like. And then the deals will come. Takes a little bit of time, but then the deals will come. Yep.
Do I have time for a second question?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Determining path of progress.
Yeah.
In Tulsa, I see more pockets of progress than I do any one particular path of progress.
Yeah. When I was studying that market about 2 years ago, it was my understanding that the local investors were moving from the, I think it was the northwest down to the southeast side, and that's where a lot of the action was happening. I'm not talking about path of progress. I'm talking about where the investing was happening. Now, the path of progress itself is always the same general path. It's where the central business district started, and it's where the wealthier people lived, and that has always been the path of progress. That's where the A businesses typically are, along that route. And the path of progress can extend and it can also widen, but it's always the same. I don't know of any city where the path of progress has changed since it became a city in its early days. So, and the easiest way to find that out is to ask the brokers. Where's the path of progress in this area? They'll tell you.
Yeah,
If you don't
I know what that is, and that answers my question. Cool. Dave, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, James. Good luck out there. All right, thanks, everybody. So your homework, as always, get out there, put in 2 offers. Because if you don't put in any offers, now they don't have to be deals at work. They just need to be offers. So you can get a conversation going with a broker where you can find out what that commonality is and then give you a reason to call that broker again with additional commonality, and eventually through relationships you get deals. Then get yourself into 2 networking situations. Those 2 networking situations, all you're looking for, it could be a social networking situation, it could be a business networking situation, but all you're looking for is someone to say, hey, what do you do? And then it's game on. And now you've got more people going into your investor file, so people that you can contact that could potentially invest in your deals. And then number 3, if you are not signed up for the Ultimate Partnering event, where we have the early bird special going on right now, you want to call into the office. It's either Ultimate Partnering Immersion. We got private money coming up. We got a bunch of great education coming up. If you're not familiar with what they are, just call in the office. We'll tell you about them. 617-878. Is it 617 or 781? I was wrong. It's 781-878-7114. 781-878-7114. Hey, we're an education company. We're in the education business, so we want your business. Not only do we want your business, but we want to give you more value than you give us in cash. And that's always our whole goal. What's our Alex? What's our vision? Results through education. That's what we're all about here at RE Mentor. Results through education. All right. It's nice spending time with you guys. I'll see you at the beginning of next month. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to call the office, and either your coach, if you're in the coaching program, will help you out, or somebody here in customer service will do that for you as well.